Ortiz on beats, boy.
Subscribe to Kiwi Box.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Kia ora team. So just a quick video. A lot going on with Jarell Miller having tested positive for a banned substance. It's just been made official. I'll leave an article in the description. The New York State Athletic Commission has denied Jarell Miller a license to box in New York State, so there's no way Anthony Joshua will be facing Jarell Miller. We're pending a B sample being opened up and governing bodies potentially taking disciplinary action against Miller, but whatever happens, the Joshua versus Miller fight ain't happening. So we're now officially looking for a replacement. Seems Eddie Hearn wants to go ahead with the June 1st date at Madison Square Garden for Anthony Joshua's US debut, and for me it makes sense for them to find an American opponent, or at least an American based opponent. So I've been looking around, and from what I've seen so far, Eddie Hearn mentioned to Joshua who would he like. He said he'd fight anybody, but the first name that came out of Joshua's mouth was Ortiz. And there's been plenty of heavyweights jumping around offering themselves to jump in as a replacement for Miller. But from where I'm sitting, the most logical choice would be Adam Kovnarski. He's a New York native. Well, he's actually Polish, but grew up in New York since he was about 13 years old or something. He would sell in New York. That makes the most sense. I've heard a couple of people say that Adam Kovnarski wouldn't take the fight on such short notice. I haven't heard that from Kovnarski himself, but if he's been in the gym 6 weeks, if he's already in training, isn't that short a notice. But if he hasn't been in the gym, which is quite possible considering he's recently announced that he's going to be a daddy, he might be spending more time with his pregnant missus and whatnot and not being in the gym, who knows. But Luis Ortiz is a great choice ranking wise. It would shut a lot of people up that have been saying Anthony Joshua ducked Luis Ortiz. I don't believe that was the case. Luis Ortiz could have had a shot ages ago if he had sat and waited, but he didn't have the patience. He went and fought Deontay Wilder instead. Now for me, there's also another roadblock in the way of the Ortiz fight. Well, not really a roadblock, but potentially one of Anthony Joshua's bouts wouldn't be on the line, as Luis Ortiz is still currently suspended by the WBA for testing positive for his blood pressure medication prior to fighting Deontay Wilder. So as far as I knew, the situation with that is the WBA actually suspended him for 3 years, but he was eligible to have the ban lifted on request after 12 months. Now it's been longer than 12 months since the WBA actually suspended him, but I haven't heard anything about him trying to get the ban lifted. His team seem to be pretty quiet on social media. I don't know whether they think he's going to be ready for a fight. I don't have a clue, but I'm sure we're going to find out more in the next sort of 2 to 3 days about that. But the other opponents that I thought were possible, because they're American based or American, would be Trevor Bryant, who's actually the WBA interim title holder, so kind of makes sense. Not a big seller, not well known, but he is American. There is Andy Ruiz Jr., who's in the rankings, so he's still eligible to be a voluntary defense. I think he's only in 1 or 2 governing bodies, so not sure how that would work as a voluntary for the bodies that he's not ranked in. We've got Oscar Rivas, recently coming off a win over Bryant Jennings. He's ranked in quite a few governing bodies, so a decent shout there, I imagine. Who else have we got? Well, that's pretty much it, really. Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter is in the rankings, and he's also now a matchroom fighter, so that's a possibility whether Michael Hunter would be willing to take on a fight like Anthony Joshua at short notice, and only being his third heavyweight fight, third or fourth heavyweight fight, I don't know. But there are, like I said earlier, a few different heavyweights that have put their hand up to try and fight Anthony Joshua. Ivan Daichko is actually just inside the top 15 of one of the sanctioning bodies, so it's a possibility, but not being American doesn't help. There is Joseph Parker's put his hand up as well. There's Manuel Cha, who's the WBA regular champion, has put his hand up. They're all possibilities, but not freaking likely because they're not American. From where I'm sitting, it has to be an American to be able to sell in America, and it has to sell well because it's Anthony Joshua's debut in America. Of course, there's also Dillian White there. He's in training for a June 13th fight, but one of his excuses for not taking the fight before this Miller fight was made, there's not enough time for a full drug testing schedule, so I don't see that one happening June 1st either. There's not a lot of possibilities as far as I can see. There is the possibility maybe that Anthony Joshua could go, oh well, I'll just fight one of my mandatories then. Apparently Alexander Usyk is now the WBO mandatory. He's preparing for a fight, when was it, May 15th or something like that, so he could possibly drop the fight that he was training for, but I don't see that being likely. He wants at least to fight one or two fights under his belt before he takes on the unified champion in Anthony Joshua. There's also the possibility of Kubrat Pulev being the IBF mandatory, but once again, he's bailed out of a fight against Anthony Joshua offered to him on like 10 weeks notice before, so on 6 weeks notice, not freaking likely that Kubrat Pulev will take that fight either. So for me, I think Luis Ortiz is probably the most credible and almost most logical opponent. That's if Adam Kalnacki won't take the fight on 6 weeks notice. I'd like to see Ortiz be the fight. That's the fight I'd like to see the most, but from a business perspective, like I say, I think Adam Kalnacki is the most logical choice. But those are my thoughts. I'd like to hear yours. Don't forget, it is official now that Jarell Miller is not allowed to fight in the state of New York, as his license has been denied. So have a read of the article in the description below. Looking forward to reading your comments, seeing who you think Anthony Joshua should fight on June 1st at Madison Square Garden. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe and give me the thumbs up. Big Boys Boxing, we out. So.
Zone beats, boy.